What's up, everybody? Troy Cartwright here. Before we get started, we are gearing up for a brand new Q&A episode. So make sure you get those questions sent in. You can do that at tenyeartown.com. Thanks. Today's guest is one of the most inspiring interviews we've ever done here on the pod. This is a conversation with Drew Baldridge, and as of this week, his song, Somebody's Daughter, is the #1 song at country radio, and he is the first person to ever completely self-fund a #1 song. That means he has no label, and he did all of this himself. This is a story that I've been following closely for some time, and I was so excited that he agreed to come on this podcast and talk to us about his journey, how he did it, what he's doing next. It's such an inspiring conversation, and I know you guys are going to love it. So without further ado, here he is, Drew Baldridge.
Check. There we are.
It is.
Hey. All right.
It's like, I remember, I don't know if you know Benji Davis, but
I do. Yep.
I was sitting with him at Red Door East, just kind of drowning my sorrows.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it just feels like somebody came along after like 6 years and like kicked over my Jenga tower.
Yeah, I can see that.
And, you're kind of faced with that moment of like, am I just going to go home, or
Do I figure it out?
am I just going to start the game over?
Yeah.
And hopefully when you're starting over, you got a little bit more knowledge.
Yeah, 100%.
How to play the game. But it can hurt.
Dude, it hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like multiple cuts. It was like losing the label. And then, as soon as I lost the label deal, and it wasn't like the label I was on dropped me. It was like it shut its doors. It was a small independent. And so in my head, I was like, we're getting a new deal. I have the team. I have the booking agent. I have the manager.
It's all here.
It's all here.
Right.
I just need a label to like get it out, you know? And then COVID hit and we couldn't take meetings. And it was kind of like, it was kind of like couldn't do anything. And then, my agent kind of let me go, I guess, but didn't tell me. I didn't know for months that I was let go. And, I was texting him and like, hey, let's go have lunch. Like, I'm playing all these people's backyards. Like, I want to tell you about it. Like, let's go have lunch. And then finally he called me out the blue one day. He was like, has your manager not told you? I was like, told me what? He's like, you haven't been on the roster in months. And I'm like, cool. Like, why didn't you take me to lunch and just tell me? I've been with you for 7 years.
Yeah. Just, like sometimes it's like, why are you afraid to just tell me the truth? Like,
just tell me the truth. I know it's going to hurt, and I know you love me and I love you, but it's business. I get it.
Yeah.
So there was just some weird multiple cuts. Like, okay, well, I lost the label, and then like handful of months later, lost the, booking agent, and then the manager went in 21, and it's kind of like you said, starting over at zero. I've been in town at this time for 10 years. Yeah. I know this is called the 10-year podcast.
Yeah. And I always start this thing off usually with how long have you been in town? So that's a great segue. So 14 years.
Well, 13 years. Yeah. At the time, I came here in 2011. So yeah, at the time in 2021, I've been here for 10 years.
Yeah.
And lose my manager. And I'm like, oh crap, I really don't have much. I had a publishing deal, which was great, but it was kind of like zero. Yeah. Ground zero again.
Although, as we've learned with you and with a lot of people's stories, it's like, even when you feel like you got nothing, it all this whole business revolves around a song.
It does.
And
100%.
You have, your songs nobody can ever take away from you.
That's so right. And I didn't really realize that until, losing the record deal. And when you get a record deal, you kind of get in this moment of thinking, well, I got to write songs that sound like this. Yeah. It's got to sound like the radio. It's got to be cool. That word cool kept coming up all the time. Like, well, it's not cool enough. And I was like, well, what is that? I'm not that guy. I'm not cool guy. I am like the smallest town kid that you'll ever find. Like, I'm not cool. I'm grew up on a farm, you know, like this ain't cool. Like I can't do cool phrasing. Like, it's country, you know, like I don't know what else to tell you. So it really changed though, you know, in 2020, after losing everything and posting on the end of 2020, posting on TikTok and just saying, hey, I don't have an agent. I don't have a record deal. I have no way of playing music. I'll play for anybody's backyard that wants to have me, cover my travel expenses. And I thought I'd get like 5 or 10 requests, and we ended up getting thousands and thousands. And I was just saying, yes, I'll come. Yes. Help me with this, pay for this. Like, if I can get there. And so for the next like 2 years, I ended up doing like 300 backyard shows around the country, just me and a guitar for, you know, anybody that could have me. And there was a stint we did 20 shows in 19 days. Just me and my tour manager in our Sprinter van, had merch piled to the ceiling in the back of our Sprinter van. We were sleeping on the couches.
How was the routing?
It wasn't great, but I did it. I did the routing, you know, through Instagram. So it was okay. Yeah. There were some drives where we were like, oh man, we played. Now we got to drive 8 hours, just the two of us, and wake up and play again, and lost my voice in the middle. It came back a couple of shows later. But when I was in those people's backyards, man, it came back to what you said, like, came back to the songs. Like, you start realizing, I ain't making music for Nashville. Like, I love Nashville. I love country radio, but I ain't making music for country radio. Yeah. I'm making music for people. Right. We're all here in this town to make music for human hearts and emotions. And so that's what really changed for me, of just like, you know, at the end of the day, I gotta make songs that are real to me and real to people that I know follow what I do. Yeah. And I gotta dive into that. And if it moves me emotionally in some way, if it's happy, if it's sad, if it's exciting, if it's, you know, a moment in life that people need, like, that's what songs do. That's why we're here, is to make that. And I got lost for years of thinking, I got to be cool. I got to sound like this, or I got to sound like that, instead of just saying, you know what, screw it. I just got to make what's real to me, and what I think people are going to, if it hits me emotionally, it's going to hit somebody else.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I think another thing that you hit on and that you've succeeded in is that you have a lot of agency. And what I mean by that is, like, you didn't wait around for an agent to come along and help you book more shows, whatever. You just said, okay, I'm going to take it to the people. I'm going to take it to the fans, which is actually the most valuable currency that we as artists have, is the connection with the fans. It's actually the only thing that matters.
Well, I was one of those artists that when I was on the record deal and I had the manager and I had the agent, I used to sit back and say, where's this? Why are we not on this? How is so-and-so getting that and we're not getting that? Yeah. You know, I think we all as artists go through that, where we're thinking everybody should just do everything for us. We come here, we write. Our job is just to write songs. Yep. Our job is just to perform. Yep. And when all of it got stripped away from me, all the people that helped me, I was like, why was I such a diva? You know, like, why did I just expect? And I even have some artists come to me sometimes and they say that stuff. It's like, well, so-and-so didn't do this and so-and-so's getting this and I'm not. Mm-hmm. Like, what'd you do for yourself? Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you can further your career yourself. Like, hey, I started an email, Drew Baldridge Management @gmail, and posted it on my Instagram. And I got more shows through that email account than ever. And I was just running business just as my own manager for 4 years. And I had the biggest years of my life just by responding and saying, okay, well, I'm just going to try this. I'm going to go do it and see if it works. And if it doesn't, I'll just recalibrate and be like, okay, well, that didn't work. Let me try something else. But I think it's important for artists, and what I've learned for the 13 years that I've been in Nashville is you gotta be the biggest doer of your camp. Mm-hmm. That's for me anyways. I'm not the most talented. I can't sing the phone book. There's some artists out there that can just stand up and sing and it's incredible. But for me, the only way that I knew how to win was I got to work hard. Yeah. And maybe then I'll see some return on my labor, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that. I was writing, I do a lot of like just try and journal in the morning or write, and just kind of like, I call it like, before I go into write, it's like I'm trying to like kind of get the fuzz off my brain.
That's cool.
Before I get in there.
Yeah.
And there was some podcast I've been listening to or something, so it was on my mind, but I had this realization that everything in my life changed in my career when I took what I call like extreme ownership of my career, of every step of my career, because when I was on a label and I had a manager and an agent and all this stuff, I felt like I was on a giant cruise ship.
Yeah.
And it was like, how do I go over there? And nobody knew. Like or somebody knew, but they didn't want to tell me.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't worth the effort to go over there. And so when it was like, okay, now, mine was basically forced upon me, but it was like, cool. Now I got this little speedboat pirate ship. And if I want to go play a show, like just, I got to do what I can to go make it happen.
Well, I think the coolest thing you said there was ownership.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, yes, we're artists. Yes, we're singers and all that stuff, and we love music, but you're also CEO of your brand.
That's right.
That's what I've learned in the last couple of years of doing this by myself. People always used to say that, and I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, I write songs and I sing them, and I enjoy that. But also, like, you're running a company. Yeah. You're running a brand, and that brand has to stand for something. You think some of our best artists, you see their name, you know what they stand for as an artist. Yeah. And I think that's something that takes a long time for us to learn because, we're all still learning that. But I just think ownership of your faults, ownership of your wins, and ownership of your career, of what next steps are, to talk into that of like, hey guys, I really want to do this, this right here. And if you really want to do that, get your team on board with doing that. Hey, I want to go play backyards.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how do we, I don't know if this is your opinion and this is your ship, you want to do that, find a way to make it happen. Yeah. And I think that was something that just take a while for me. And now I'm like relearning that, how to be a part of a manager and how to be a part of a booking agent. Cause now we got all these cooks in my kitchen and I'm learning how to like, okay, this is something I can give up because I'm a dad, I'm a father, I'm a husband. I want to have life with my family, and I've been running a record label. I've been running my own management. I've been booking my own shows for the last 4 years. And now it's like, it feels a little weight off the chest, but it's like, oh man, like I have control issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing this so alone and seeing it win. Now I got to give it up.
What are you learning about how to like effectively work with a team?
Yeah. I'm still learning again. It's only been a couple weeks, and I'm so excited. I have an awesome team. I just signed with UTA, which is a great booking agency, and new management, a guy named John Maneely, who's incredible and been in the business forever. And I like to take I like to hear their opinions out and sit back and listen. But also at the end of the day, they're all very honest and like, hey, you got here. Like, we don't want to derail what you're doing, but also like, we want to help get this to the next level. Let's take your business and grow it. And I think too, what really helps is I respect everybody on my team so much. Like these guys have all been doing a lot longer than me.
Yeah.
They've all grown great businesses. And so I'm learning a lot, but also I haven't just fully been like, take it all. Right. You have it all. Like, I'm on every email moving forward. Like, hey, what's our offers? I want to be on the email so I can see it so I can respond. Mm-hmm. I think that's something as artists that nobody's going to care about your business more than you.
Yeah.
And that was something that took a lot hard to think. I was like, man, I haven't heard from this guy in, 3 or 4 days. And I wonder what's going on. And then they'll call me like, well, I got this and this and this done. And you're like, oh man, I wish I would have been like, known that was happening.
Yeah. To build up and over time you'll build up that trust.
Exactly.
And maybe you won't have to be on the emails.
And that's what they all say is like, you're going to trust us. You're going to get there where you're like, I don't want to be on this anymore. Like, y'all just deal with it. And I will. I just know I've already gained so much respect and love for the people in the last month that we started working with. But it's still this control thing of like, man, I've been alone. I have to know what's going on. And I don't, I guess, at the end of the day, but it's nice to know like there's stuff moving and I can be in the know and a part of the conversation because I've been doing it for the last 3 or 4 years alone and got this song, top 10 with just me and no manager, no agent, just hiring my own staff and running radio and running this label team. And it's been exciting. So I think there is a little bit of like, as dumb as I am, I do know a little bit about this in my career. You're
clearly not dumb at all. So you got to give yourself some credit. And just for context for everybody listening, you have a song, Somebody's Daughter, that has become, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the highest charting single ever by an independent artist. Yeah,
so it's been if we go number one, I guess what they told me is like, you'll be the highest. Nobody has ever went number one as an independent artist for their first number one.
Gotcha.
Which is a big thing in our industry because for years and years, there was no way to afford hiring a team. That's why labels are important. I mean, it's still so expensive to send a song to radio, I've learned. But I'm very lucky that DSPs and streaming, the song's streaming, so I can dump that back and invest in me as an artist. And I thought this was a great way to invest in us if it works. I didn't know if it was going to work. It was like, oh crap. There was times when we were in the 50s for 4 months on the chart.
Yeah.
And I have a wife and at this time, he was only barely a year old.
Mm.
And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm dropping so much money into this. I'm hiring a staff. I'm watching this money go out. Very lucky that the money kept coming back in from streaming. But there was nights I'm up at 3 a.m. like questioning myself. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Getting up, going downstairs and pacing and thinking like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And this is the dumbest move I've ever made in my life. But I believe in it.
Yeah.
I believe in this song. I believe in the message of this song. I know if radio will just get behind it, it can be a hit. I believe it. I know it can. I'm watching it react on TikTok, hundreds of millions of views, 100 million streams. And I'm like, I know if we can just get everybody to play it, it will work. But how do I get everybody to play it at once? Dude, that was the big question.
Yeah. Well, it's been, whether you're aware of it or not, there are a lot of people in town that are just like rooting so hard for this to happen. Like, dude, me and my publisher Tim Hunzy, he's the one that sort of like tipped me off.
I love Tim.
He's the best, man. And he's good buddies with Rusty. And so it was probably 2 months ago. He like was like, hey, have you seen this thing? And I was like, I've heard about it. Like, what's going on? And he starts breaking it down for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, this is like, this is the dream. Like, this is so inspiring. I know to me personally, and I think to a lot of people, it's just like, did you get the right song? You get the right, I mean, the stars have to align the right way and all that stuff, but it's like, it's possible.
That's what, when I jumped on the call for the very first time with my team that I hired, I was like, hey guys, and every week we have a call every Monday. We set it up. And I always end the call with saying, hey, you're not just doing this for me.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing this for all independent artists.
That's right.
This is something that can change the game of country music with the right song. I mean, obviously everybody's like, how are you doing? I was like, man, the song is doing the work. You got to have a song that's reacting. It's not just some magic button that we're pressing. We're very lucky and blessed that the song is researching, do everything. But it's very exciting to know all the artists that have called and been like, man, can we just go to lunch and talk? And I'm an open book. Like, yeah, let's go to lunch. Like, I want you to succeed. You are where I am. You moved here for a dream to have a song on the radio, and now we're showing that it's possible.
Yeah.
Like, with the right song, it can work. You don't need all these magic, management. You don't need all this magic stuff.
A giant cruise ship.
You don't need that giant cruise ship. If it's the right song and you're very active, you're taking ownership. And that's one thing that I saw. I was like, oh man, like, yes, it's a lot of work. You have to be organized, which is very difficult for artists, and myself included. Like, my brain goes everywhere. It's like, I have to take a list always. I'm writing down my to-do list of everything that I have to, I need to talk to this guy today. I need to talk to this guy. This is what I need to say, and just make a list. And my list sheet is like, scroll down my notes. It's like so far things that I haven't done yet.
Yeah, it's impossibly long.
It's impossibly long, but that's what really helped me, was making a list and be like, okay, I got to make sure these are the vital, important things that I check off today, because I'm not a very organized person.
Yeah.
I got to try to stay organized during this. And it's been very, very life-changing for me, but also I think it's going to be life-changing for a lot of other artists that have this want. If they have a song that pops off, there's no reason why they can't do this, in my opinion. I mean, yes, it's going to be hard. There's obstacles. Every artist is different and has different obstacles or I think every artist has their own superpower that they're great at, and everybody has to figure that out and make it work. But there's a real chance that other people and artists can do this.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool for me. Like you said, hearing when you said the town's rooting, that gets me so happy.
It's true, man. And
to know like, hey, we were alone this whole time, but the town has made me feel I wasn't.
Yeah.
Like when I would be walking down Music Row, walking into right, oh man, we see your top 30. We're just so pumped. We're so excited. Other artists that have been here that lost deals just like me, or changing deals or everything, they're calling, how's it going? Where are you at?
Yeah.
Top 20. Oh my gosh. Like, we're so pumped. Like, let's freaking go. It's just, it's really cool how I feel like it's brought me more together with my friends and other artists. Like, just being able to sit down here with you, man, and talk about it. I'm a fan of your music. I'm a fan of your work. I've seen your songs blow up on TikTok. You got great songs and great fans. And man, just to be able to connect with people this last year has been super special for me. Because I never thought I'd get to do things like this again. I'm not taking it like, for you just asking to be on this podcast. This is a huge deal. This is super awesome for you to open up all the listeners that you have. So thank you for that,
dude. And thank you for being here. And we did an interview. It hasn't come out yet, but recently with songwriter Ryan Beaver. And I was talking to Ryan about like when he just had his first number one, Pretty Little Poison, with Warren Ziders. And it's like, dude, it felt like when he got his number one, everybody was so stoked. It was like we all got one, and that's what I think is so special about Nashville, and is honestly a little bit of a I'm trying to think of a appropriate way to say it, like a mind twister, because as an artist, especially an independent artist, you go so long and you just wonder, does anybody care? You get a song with 10, 20 million streams and you think it will matter. And it does matter, and it matters financially, but it's still like, there have been a lot of moments like that where I'm like, I thought somebody would care by now.
Yeah.
And you feel like no one does. But then you get a moment like where you're at right now, where it really is like a high watermark where kind of everybody can see it, and you realize people were rooting the whole time. It's just hard to express it.
And I think we're so lost in our own agendas in Nashville. Obviously, everybody loves everybody, but like, we're all competitive spirits. We all want to win too. But when you see somebody, like, I have friends that have been here just as long as I have, and when I see them win, I'm so stoked. Like, dude, you've been here working for 10, 12 years. You deserve this. And I think that's what's been really cool. I had so many people reach out, because this is my first hit. I've been in town for 13 years. And they're like, man, you deserve it. You've put in the work. You're not, you just didn't come here in the year and boom, have a song take off. Like, you've really worked hard and you didn't give up, and perseverance does win. And that's been really, really awesome and really cool. And I remember when Daughter was streaming a lot, and I was sitting back and I was in right there, and I was like, nobody cares. Why does nobody care about 100 million streams? Like, this song has 400 million plays on TikTok. Why can't I get a label to call me or care? Or like, I'll go meet with labels and then I wouldn't hear anything back.
Yeah.
And my wife would be like, what do you say to people? Like, to rub them wrong. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what I'm saying. And I just think that I had a deal, and now I kind of like used goods is what I felt like.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, it's like we're living parallel lives. I've had the exact same conversation with my wife so many times. I'm like, why does nobody care?
Yeah,
like, what's happening? And what do you, I don't know. Have you made your I don't know, your peace with that, or do you think it's just like it just was what it was? And
man, the only thing I could guess, and what I tell everybody, is I had my shot. I had 3 singles at radio. I was on a record deal, and I feel like it's really hard for artists, especially nowadays in a world that's so fast of releasing music. If you lose a deal to get another, is what I've come to conclusion. It got to the point where I would go meet with a label, thought it went great, and then I would text them and they wouldn't reply. And that's like the Nashville no. Right. People that just don't reply to you, you're like, okay.
And is this while the song is like having success too?
And I would meet with some and they would be like, all right, 4 months into Daughter coming out, and I met with one person and they were just like, we really need to see your song doing 1 million streams a week to be excited. And I was like, well, dude, it's got 16 million streams. It's been out for 4 months.
Yeah.
They're like,
do the math.
You're doing it. Okay, that's awesome. And then they'd be like, well, let's see what we got. And then I just wouldn't hear. And I'd be like, whoa, like what just happened? And then it just kept happening. I met with a radio guy who used to be a radio guy in Phoenix. His name was Tim Richards. And we've always just been really close. And he came here to town, and he had a young artist that he was working with out of Phoenix. And he was like, do you care to write with this young artist? And like, we'll cut a demo on him. And I was like, sure. So he comes out here, we write, they cut the demo, and they're in the studio doing it. And I just swing by to say, hey. And he was like, Drew, what's up? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, man, I got this song. And it's like crushing. I just can't get labels to get excited. He's like, why do you need one? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, let's talk about sending the song to radio. He's like, I got friends, radio, you've done free shows and helped out radio and been a great partner for people all around the country. Like, let's talk about it. So we just started talking about it, and I was like, okay, well, let's put a team together. And he's been such a vital, important piece of all this, of supporting me and helping me find the right team and me bouncing ideas off of him. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, nobody cares, but I do. And I'm just going to say, screw it.
Yeah.
And I came to my wife, I was like, look, I don't want to look back in 30 years and say, why didn't we try? This is the dream that I moved here to do. This is the only song I've ever had to do this with. Like, I know this song is special. I'm watching it in real time, but I don't understand why nobody else is. I was like, I gotta take the chance to show. If people want to bet on me, why would I let them bet on me when I won't bet on myself?
Yeah.
And I was like, screw it. I'm going all in. I'm going to try this. I'm going to call people. I'm going to hire people, and I'm going to give this a real shot. But I had him kind of really helping my brain along of like, these people are great to hire. These people probably not. And I hired a staff and took a real swing at it just because I couldn't understand why people didn't want to jump on what we were doing, but I believed in it enough to say, let's try. And if we fail, I know that I tried, and I can say, hey, this song is paying us to, people are streaming it so much. The way I envision it now is they got the song the top 5. The people did. Not me or anything. It's literally people streaming it and sharing it has allowed us to get to this position. And they're just, I always post on social, show people where we're at on the chart, because they're just as much a part of it.
Yeah, they're invested. It's a story, man.
And they've invested since day one of this. Yeah. And they've been following. A lot of people are like, we've been listening to the song for 3 years, 4 years, and we're so excited. We're hearing it on the radio now. And it's just like, it's cool that they almost like the fans are the team. Yeah. More than even like having a team. It's just been the fans supporting it and watching it grow with me.
How far into you taking this song to radio, how far in were you before you, I don't know, had an inkling like, oh, this might really work. You know, did something break big along the way, like a iHeart or somebody came on?
Yeah, it was, my goal was only top 40.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Like everybody kept coming to me, like when I was doing this, even like my tour manager and at the time he was like, dude, you know, this is crazy. I'm like, I know. He's like, you know, this is like expensive. Like you're going to hire staff. I'm like, I know. He's like, what's your goal?
Yeah.
I was like, man, if I could I've never had a top 40. Like that would be insanity. Like all my songs have died in the 40s, like 47, 48, 41. And I was like, I just want to be able to put in my bio top 40 country artist. You know, that was been my dream to be a top 40. And I always thought too, man, if I get top 50, a label will want me. If I get top 40, a label will want me. You know, that's all in the back of my head. If I get top 30, a label will for sure come calling.
Yeah.
And when I got top 40, that was when I was like, oh crap. Like this has made it further than any single I ever had with a label. Yeah. I can't believe we're here. And then about 40 to 35, iHeart came in. iHeart custom added. And that was a moment I was like, oh my gosh.
It's happening.
This could work. Like people are seeing, obviously their research is working. And then everybody's were calling me, is like, dude, it's so hard to get through the 30s. Like it is so hard. And then I got through the 30s in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And all of a sudden I got through the 20s just as fast.
Yeah.
And then we got top 20 and my publicist reached out and said, hey, Bobby Bones wants to do the Bobby Bones podcast. And I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. I didn't know Bobby Bones even liked my music. You know, I don't even know if he knows me. And that was another big moment along this trip of like, oh crap, people are watching and this is working. And it was interesting, you know, I never really saw any real daytime airplay until we were top 20. Like I was top 20, I was getting to 20. I was like, nobody's even posting about hearing the song. Like, this is wild. Why is nobody hearing the song? And then once we got top 20, it'd be like, I started seeing tags of like, we're hearing you in Raleigh. We're hearing you here. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is freaking working.
Yeah.
Like people are actually hearing
You're like
it.
checking the Shazams.
Yeah. It's like, this is really reacting and working. But yeah, when we got top 40, man, and I called Tim when we got, what was it? Top 20 or right at 20. And Tim has been helping me through this whole process. He was like, Drew, remember when your goal was top 40? I said, yeah, because I was stressing about something. I was like, we got to get here. We got to get here. He's like, everything else is gravy. Like, you came into this, your goal was top 40, and now you have a top 20 record. Like, this is all exciting, but this shouldn't have happened. And I'm like, you were so right. Like, trying to enjoy this has been, yes, I've enjoyed it, but also like stressed out the last little bit of like, now I got to get one, I got to get one. Everybody's wanting me to get one. And if it doesn't happen at the end of the day, it's like, dude, we did pretty good.
Dude, you did it.
Yeah. Man, you know, thanks for saying that.
The rest is gravy, but like, I mean, you did it, man.
Well,
so
thanks.
I hope you're getting to enjoy it and feeling, you know, the celebration.
And it's been crazy. So like the last couple of weeks, everybody's like, what's next? And I'm like, freaking starting over again sounds so hard. Yeah. But it is like, you know, at least we'll be starting over and having a little, hopefully, you know, a little bit of like, hey, he's been here and done that, you know, of like, hey, a little bit more respect gained at radio and stuff. And so that's been the most stressful thing is like, what is next? The next song has to be really special. And the next song has to be better, in my opinion. Like, especially if we have to release this independent. If I don't get another record label, I always just think if we're doing this alone again, it has to be better than anything on the chart. Like, this song has to be special. And I've been writing, trying to find it. And we got this song that we're really, really excited about. Another artist cut it. And that was like, oh, dang it. You know, back when I was in the 50s, they cut it. And I called him a couple of weeks ago, and I was just like, hey, man, I don't know what you're doing with this song. You know, if you're going to put it out, that's fine. But if not, like, this is my second single. This is pretty important. And he called me back. He's like, it's your song. You should have it.
Wow.
And then I was like, what did I just do? I just maybe lost the biggest single of my life or cut of my life. And now I'm like betting on this again of like, oh crap. I just, asked for a song back from one of the biggest artists in country music and trying again to take another chance. And it's not all done yet. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll put it out, but I'm fighting to keep it. And we'll see what happens. But I am super excited to know, like, hey, we got a song that's special.
Yeah. And
hopefully that can be my next single.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I got some time.
I
got a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, are you, having gone through it and lived with like what I would imagine, and as you have also alluded to, like just the stress of going through this.
Yeah.
Are you like, would you do it again?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just to know, right now, I probably wouldn't have done it again if we would have died in the 40s, or the 30s. But like if we pull off a number one, like, hey, if people are asking me what's next, I feel like they're excited to play what's next.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've earned a spot on radio by doing this. And I think people are excited to see. So yes, I'll do it again, no matter what way that is. If it's with a partner, hey, labels, if you want to hit me up, I'm here. But if not, I got a team that's proven themselves. And obviously the song has really done most of the work. And I hope that this next one can do that.
And when you say that, like, what does that mean for you? That the song has done the work? Do you just mean it's like been reactive?
So it's streamed is one thing, over 150 million times. So that is funded this.
Yeah.
But also it's researching. And that's the biggest thing at radio right now is like, they care about streaming. One thing that I've seen is a streaming song can get you about mid 30s. Then after that, the song has to do the work. Yeah. And what that means is radio has a research where they send out to their local listeners, which makes a lot of sense. I didn't really know this, but they send it out to their top listeners in their market. They send their playlist and they say, rate your favorites. Wow. Here's my top 40. What do you want to hear the most of? And She's Somebody's Daughter kept coming back top 5 on all that. And they were like, hey, we got to play this like a top 5 record. This is what people want to hear. It doesn't matter if you're Sony. It doesn't matter if you're Universal. What was cool was, a couple weeks ago, the top 10 had 3 independent artists, me, Shabuzi, and Brian Martin.
Yeah.
And no major labels there. They were all independent labels, but it was because people wanted to hear those songs. Yeah. And I think that's so cool for independent artists out there. I had several talks with radio. They're like, look, we don't care where it comes from. We want our listeners to love the music that's coming out the speakers.
Yeah.
And yes, it's all great to be a part of big labels because a lot can happen. But at the end of the day, for us, the song researched. And when I say research, you only get 10 to 15 seconds of a hook.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy is,
Yeah, we had Trapper on over from XM, and I was like, how does a song get researched? And he explained, they just play like a little piece of it.
Yeah, 10 or 15 seconds.
Yeah.
That's all you're judged on. And luckily, She's Somebody's Daughter had like this viral moment on TikTok, so I would just pick the top of the chorus and be like, she's somebody's daughter. But it was interesting because like some of the people would be like, hey, we got bad research. And I would just ask my rep, what's the hook?
What are they using for the hook?
And they would be like, hey, they used a second verse or they used the end of the chorus. And I'm like, send them this.
Yeah.
And then the next week we would jump up top 5 just with the right hook being played.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know. But
there you go with taking the extreme ownership of the situation. Because when you, I listen to like a lot of like entrepreneurial podcasts, business podcasts, and there's this one quote that I love, and it's like, when you know your business from A to Z, there's no problem that you can't solve.
Wow, that's cool.
And there you go. You got a problem, it's not researching well, you go, hey, hold on a second. Which part of the song are you using? Because you know your business.
Well, it took a long time and still learning every day how these things work. But that was something that really blew my mind that, let's say if you were just an artist and, you were a part of a major label and there's 30 other artists, maybe your song just tests bad and nobody asks.
Yeah.
Why is it testing bad? What do you, just go in that extra mile and say, what are you using? What are you playing? And they say this. Well, I just send you this and try it. And maybe every label's doing that. I don't know. But that was just something that blew my mind of like, oh my gosh, something as simple as sending the right hook got us moved to 60 plays that week.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, that is super interesting to me. So that's something I've really, makes me nervous moving forward is like, oh goodness, I have to have a song that researches and I only get 10 or 15 seconds to really do that. And I believe in the song, but we're going in. Last time I was going in on a song that had everything. People were reacting on TikTok. Right. It was streaming. Then it started researching. Now I'm like, I don't know. I think the song is good. My team thinks it's good, but we don't know till we put it out.
Yeah.
And watch what the audience does. Is it going to stream? I don't know.
Yeah.
Are people going to like it? I don't know. I do.
Yeah,
and that's all I can go off of right now.
Well, it's going to be fun, dude. And it's,
oh man,
it's like, who was it that was sitting where you're sitting? Matt Roy. I asked him, what was it like when you got your first number one? He's like, it was good. And then it was like, I got to go to the moon again.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like right now. I've talked to so many people about it. I was like, I remember we did this thing a couple weeks ago where Dan and Shay brought us out and we got to play She's Somebody's Daughter in front of all their people, which was amazing. And I remember talking to Dan years ago. I was like, dude, I'm so excited for you. Like tequila is like blowing up.
Yeah.
And he was like, I am so stressed. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, how do I follow tequila? How do I do that?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's where I've been the last couple of weeks, like trying to enjoy this moment, but also like, how do I follow this story of She's Somebody's Daughter? The song is been researching and doing all that, but how do I follow this story where, so many people have been like, hey, your next one, you're just another guy again. You're not this story of an independent artist doing it by yourself. It's like, you're just another song that's fighting for airplay. And maybe everybody won't be so nice to you on the next one. I'm like, yeah, maybe not. Like I had a story to help us out here, and now it's just the music's really got to work on the next one.
Yeah, man. You'll be all right.
Man, I appreciate
I believe and I really am. Like it as you can tell, it excites me, dude. I'm excited for you.
Man, well,
it's
thank
just so
you.
Inspirational. Well, I got one last question for you before we get out of here. If you could go back to younger you, just getting started on your journey, what's a piece of advice that you'd give yourself?
I don't know. It's super interesting. I got a record deal so young, and I just took the first record deal that came at me. And maybe if I would have waited a little bit and realized I wasn't ready for that record deal, I think, I had a couple songs that were good, but I really didn't know who I was. And I did the record deal, did the radio tour on songs that now looking back, I was like, that wasn't a hit. Why did I push so much for that? But at the time I thought it was, so maybe not. But also too, I was playing so many shows, man. I played hundreds of shows a year. And looking back, maybe if I would have just wrote more, maybe if I would have just stayed in town and wrote more and created songs. I think of like somebody like Hardy, at the time I was going around playing hundreds of shows, he was just here writing and writing and writing. And then when it worked, it went boom, and I love Hardy and he's an amazing songwriter and been very, I've known him for years, but that was just something that was always interesting to me. I watched it happen in real time. I was like, dang, his songs are so much better than mine, but I just think if I would have wrote more, and really, I was very lucky. Yes, I grew to be an entertainer and I can play shows and I'm very confident in that. But now if I looking back, it's like, man, if I would have just had songs that other artists would have cut, like it would have opened up so many more doors. Yeah. Instead of just thinking, I just focused on me so much. Me. And I didn't really create this circle of friendship that I really should have, of like, hey, I got a buddy now that's out on tour and I've known everybody for years, but I didn't support people along their journey as much as I should have and been a good friend to people because I was so selfishly involved in my own music and my own world. And I watched these people become friends and they all helped each other out along the way, which is awesome. You know, and I've had people help me out along the way too, but I should have been a better friend to people and rooted their story on more.
Well, it's so hard when you're young too.
Yeah.
Because you feel like someone else's success is, you know, there's only this much success. So when someone else is having it, you're like, oh, well, there's less for me.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the same things I've learned is like, as I've gone on, it's like, no, dude, if your buddy is having a good run, be that as a songwriter or an artist or whatever, like it only helps you.
Yeah. That's hard to know at 22.
It is.
23.
It's hard to know at 27, you know, like it's because it doesn't quite make sense, but you know, this like Nashville, the community, the songwriting community, the artist community, like, you know, it really is that. It's a community. And I think the more that I've just tried to focus on like giving.
That's important.
Instead
That's
of,
awesome.
you know, making it, like you said, like it was all about me, you know, and it's like, okay, well, I saw where that got me. Let's try something different. And I'm much happier. I feel much more fulfilled, like as a human being.
Yeah. I think it's so important. You know, I had this thought one day when I had a buddy that was succeeding and I got in my own head of like, oh my gosh, like I'm happy for him, but like, what the frick? Yeah. Like, oh, I could have done that too, you know? And and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call him and be a part of his success.
There you go.
Like, dude, I'm so proud of you. You know, hit him up on the phone, just like, what you're doing is awesome. And I hung up the phone. I was like, I feel, why have I done this my whole life of not rooting against people, but like feeling down when they succeed?
Yeah. Cause you're scared.
You're scared. Yeah. You're frantically running in this town of like, please don't let me go of my record deal. And please, you know, everything's riding on this song. And I think that's something that has changed a lot in the last couple of years, which is exciting. You know, I don't know what year you got here, but for me, when I signed my deal in 2016, it was like, if this single doesn't work, my life is over. Mm-hmm. And now it doesn't feel like that so much because DSPs and Spotify, you put songs out and stream and do all these other things. But at the time, it was just like, this radio single has to work. And if it doesn't, you're screwed.
Yeah.
See you later. And so that has opened up a lot of just like, hey, I'll just put songs out. People are just putting songs out and you can root for people along the way. But yeah, when I did that moment, that's something that really changed in my heart of like, why have I always thought like that?
I know.
Why am I so selfish and wanting only me to succeed? And I mean, that's something everybody will always fight. Yeah. Probably, but it's definitely been eye-opening to root other people along and like watch them succeed is fun too. Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, thank you so much for being here. Man, thank you. I really appreciate it. Sorry, I just came in so late and was like, hey, let's get going. You're good. All right. That's it. That's the pod. I love it. See you later. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. If you want to submit a question for one of our Q&A episodes, you can do so at tenuretowne.com. We would love it if you would join the Tenuretown community, which just means we'll send you updates via email about stuff we got going on. And of course, please rate and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Wherever you listen or watch this thing, we appreciate you so much. See you next week.